Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 Kaiserreich as the French Republic. Let's continue on for the last left off. So, we blew up our own city with a battleship to get rid of some protesters. And I think that's a completely sane and rational thing to do. So, we're going to continue researching on, we're going to get our support equipment. Follow that up with, was it 1936 right now? Could get radio, but I don't think radio's really necessary. So, let's go for Concentrate Industry 2. And get that going. We aren't training any divisions. Do I have any equipment? I do. I do have equipment I can actually use. Do I have light tanks? I have 78 light tanks. How many light tanks do you actually need? You need 60. The cavalry? Fantastic. Do I not just have... Yeah, you're our basic infantry. So, what? Let's just train, let's say, 2 of you for now. That should be okay. We might be down. No, actually, no. We're still up on infantry equipment. Fantastic. And we are missing... Okay, there's a lot of people who right now are resisting occupation. What's our problem? We need... support equipment, I think it was? Yeah, 24. Resurrection. The National Assembly gives full powers of the government of the Republic under the authority of the Gaul to proclamate, by one or more acts, a new constitution of the French state. By this civil motion adopted unanimously, the destiny of France has changed for the better. Everywhere the enemies of France still lurked, and Charles de Gaulle, finally given the tools to save France, continued the work already started to cleanse the nation. Everywhere he looked, more and more evidence of the incredibly deep rot affected Republic came to light. Tasked with saving France, the general had come with a simple conclusion that today he exposed in a speech in front of the Senate. Trusted with Ordainous task of guiding the nation in these hazardous times, I must put the party above all, above my personal feelings, above petty convictions, above divisions, and as such, I've come to the conclusion that a system born in the fires of revolution cannot extinguish the fire of another, and that any constitution my government could put together couldn't be enough to ensure the safety and future of our nation. As such, as chief of the state of the French Republic, the powers granted to me by the people, I hereby declare that to ensure the salvation of France, we should look towards the fundamental laws, the laws that govern our nation and made her glory since time immemorial, the laws of the kingdom. As such, for the good of France and her people, as a subject, I humbly asked Monsieur, the Duc de Grasse, heir to 40 kings over millennia, made France, to seize the crown and guide us towards resurrection, the renewal of France. Truth is, no one was surprised by this speech, neither the parliamentarians nor the people. General de Gaulle's sympathies for the monarchy and the Royalist Action Français were no secret, and forces loyal to the regime and AF in the media, the church, and the armed forces have worked tirelessly to cement the idea of restoration in the public consciousness. The defeat of the revolution had already severely damaged her image of the Republic. Recent events made sure the few still truly attached to her, the senators, gave de Gaulle a long-standing ovation, named him Lieutenant General of the Reborn Kingdom. Reason, in other words, for voting to dissolve the legislative chambers. Spontaneous celebrations broke into streets all over the country. But most of the people, the predominant feeling is relief. Finally, a crisis that shook the nation for months is over. So we gained 5% stability, gained 20 political power, Action Français ruling party, and, yeah, fantastic. I think we are now going to become the Kingdom of France. No, we're still the French Republic. De Gaulle is currently in charge. And does that mean we can actually... Yes, we can actually go down this tree now. Fantastic. So you will be done... I mean, right now. Perfect timing, I would say. We can't get any of this. This all goes automatically after crowning submarine is organized. And we can't do any of this until we've actually crowned a new king. Is there anything we want then first? You know what? Two military factions and really cheap artillery. Sounds nice to me. Probably want one more unit of rifles in production as well. The armored cars, I really don't think they're really that meaningful right now, but we'll keep them in production for the time being. I mean, what do we not... No template for the artillery. Well, we need the artillery anyways. Eventually, we're going to want to put some into the field. So it's almost 1937. Jabal and Neige are still at war with each other. We do have a little event. I want to still finish up this as well. Deal with Republican remnants. All rotten. Here comes the cops. What is Republican remnants? It's stability and daily political power gain basically being in the absolute toilet. Okay, my mouse for some reason wasn't working for a moment. The Ulmena. The Association de Ulmes... Okay, the Association of Algerian Muslim Ilma is a religious association founded in 1933 under the unofficial leadership of Ahmed Ben Badis. The Association of Theologians, Teachers, and more generally learned men has come to promote Islamic reform, hoping to bring Islam in Algeria to its pure original form, away from the superstitions fostered by the marabouts and a more mystical approach of the Sufi congregations. Taking inspiration from similar initiatives which found success in Middle East and Tunisia, many schools have already been created teaching grammar, mathematics, and religion to children, and theology, philosophy, history, as well as the Islamic and French law to young adults, quickly becoming a major influence in mosques all over the region and attracting a suspicion of colonial authorities. Indeed, one of the stated goals of the association is to foster the Islamic identity in Algeria, to unite the people beyond the divide between Berbers and coastal Arabophobe Algerians, and beyond tribal boundaries. Though they stop short of advocating for independence, they strongly oppose assimilation, claiming that an Algerian nation does exist, which cannot become French and does not want to be French. As such, they have already found themselves becoming an important player in the politics of Algerian departments. First, authorities unsuccessfully sought to co-opt the association, much like the rest of the Islamic clergy in the colonies, as banning the already powerful group would certainly create unrest. Then, two NATO groups came to seek support of the Ulama, the Action Algiers of Ferhat Abbas, which claims that should the Action Française come to power, autonomous Algerian agenda could be fostered and traditional Islamic law could be fully restored. And the Etoile Nord-Africaine of Hessi Hajj, a syndicalist aligned underground group which advocates for the independence of Algeria with support of the Commune. So far, the association has not sided with either, skeptical of both the sincerity of AS promises to autonomy and the anti-clerical socialism advocated by the communards. So of course we're going to go for, more stability loss. Fantastic. Just take all of my stability. What am I going to do with it? Absolutely nothing at this point. We're still missing 17 support equipment. There's more resistance on Chad. And yeah, just a lot of resistance. People don't like us, unfortunately. If we look at resistance, you are increasing, but what do you increase to? Your target is only 47%, so you're not going to go with that. Base target is 52. Yeah, because you're about at your maximum now. So the colonies, for the most part, are, like, stable enough, as far as I'm concerned. Today, the conclusion of the investigation into the events of the last few months has reached the desk of Lieutenant General of the Kingdom, Charles de Gaulle. From monetary support to Merdek, to helping his escape, to encouraging the recent attempted coup, the results are incredibly damning for many among the old Republican establishment, and thousands are implicated, including many in the army, the secret services, and the administration. While they will, of course, be promptly dealt with some the Action Française advice taking advantage of the crisis to finally once and for all cleanse the French body from the stain of republicanism and take down the parasitic groups dragging France down in one fell swoop. Purge them all. They're guilty of something one way or another. I'm sure that'll end up going completely okay for us. So we'll just have like a massive purge. Huilon's been elected president, so we're going to definitely see a four-way civil war. I don't know which way we'd want to, I guess we want to help out the Entente, right? Which usually probably means helping out the Pacific states. More than 110 years since the last royal coronation, France finally had the king once again. The ceremony was carefully organized to follow as closely as possible to the millennium-old protocol, despite taking place in the Saint Philip Cathedral in Algiers to the traditional coronation in Reims, which current circumstances would make it difficult to organize. Much of the necessary ceremonial items, such as the sword Jouus, said to have been the sword of Charlemagne, as well as the holy ampulla, glass vial holding anointing oil, said to have been given by the Holy Spirit to the baptism of Clovis, the king of the Franks. Had been evacuated during the retreat from the mainland, and a new regalia was crafted by skilled artisans, particularly an ornate crown. After swearing oaths to the scriptures to defend the church, to maintain peace, fight injustice, be merciful and just, as well as fight heresy, Jean d'Orléans has been anointed in 9 spots in the shape of a cross with holy oil by the Archbishop of Algiers. Then was draped in a blue cloak sprinkled with gold, fleur-de-lis, given a scepter and the hand of justice, and finally crowned. Peers of the reborn kingdom swore fealty to his majesty. Then a mass was said. This done, the king and the royal family headed out for their new residence, the former presidential palace in the heights of Algiers, cheered on the whole way there by a numerous crowd. public celebrations and banquets taking place well until the late hours of the night. Some important details were altered in the ceremony, however. The king did not swear the traditional oath to fight infidels, and was instead given a mufti of Algiers' traditional fields of sword, representing his new status of Haima al-Islam, or protector of Islam. And among the peers wearing fealty to his majesty were numerous Arab, Berber, or African chiefs in their traditional costumes, symbol of a new era of French rule. The Republic is dead, long live the kingdom. So, get 100 political power, more stability for having our king, and more political power gain. Fantastic. Long live the Republic is dead, long live the kingdom. So the restoration has been finished. We are now the kingdom. We do have a new flag. And you'll be done in a moment. So what do we want to do next? It's a great question. Because we can do a ton of different things. We have 30% stability, 112 political power. Which means I want to start taking the next level of the railroad. Followed by, let's publicly humiliate them. We can do like 2 more of these. Struggle sessions. Camelot's knocking at the doors of prominent Republican intellectuals, journalists, public personalities, and taking them to the public square, sometimes dragging them, sometimes at gunpoint. These men then getting on their knees to renounce their traitorous beliefs, apologizing to the masses in well-rehearsed public apologies, sometimes manhandled either by the action's men or the crowd, and then sent on their way back home to obscurity, knowing full well their writing, their speeches will never be heard again by the people. But relieved that they did not end up like the last of the Porteurs, blown to pieces by the Democrates cannons. This has become a common sight, and the crowd seemed even more eager to pin all their troubles on these traitors, sometimes more bloodthirsty than the most fanatic of Camelot's de Roy, and having been held back from tearing them apart. We can let the crowd do as they please. You know, let the crowds do as they please. Follow that up by let's clean up the ranks of the police. Here comes the cops. As expected, it didn't take long for investigation to find problematic elements within the police force. With a few cases of what appears to be revolutionary cells forming up, thankfully they were caught in time. And these policemen were persuaded by fellow officers, intelligence service, and Camelots who happened to be assisting questioning sessions to give up any co-conspirators but slipped through the cracks. Some who survived the last parade were particularly strongly advised to indicate whether their treason on that fateful day was spontaneous or planned. For good measure, officers with no sympathies for Murdoch and the democratic cause were interrogated, and sanctions being visited for them as well. We can fire the sympathizers, imprison the conspirators, execute the ringleaders. Or we can execute everybody. You know, imprison the sympathizers too. Can't be too careful. And you know what? Why not purge the military? It seems that though much of the army stood with Murdoch in his revocation against the marshal's more fanciful use of information against received traitors, even close to Action Francais, most were in much less sympathetic to the democratic cause than one could have feared, or at least that was what much of those interrogated by the marshal's court assured us. Perhaps cowed by Murdoch's ultimate fate. In any case, though some would have been shot, at least set an example, most of the men interrogated could be reintegrated within the ranks without much penalty. The core of Murdoch's clique was blown apart along with their leader, and a unified opposition to the armed forces seemed unlikely. You know what? Well, if we're gonna go hard, we're gonna go hardball, right? If we're gonna be doing this, we're gonna go like as hard as we can. So right now we're getting 0.6 political power per day, which is not like the most, but you know, could be worse. Let's follow that up by getting improved machine tools done in 116 days. We are still missing support equipment, but I don't think it's really going to matter too much. Okay, this is fine. For the Lord knows those that are his own. Yes, we can select the focus. Let's go with manufacturing output, research speed, construction speed. Let's try to see what we want to do first. Political power goes up. You give us a massive attack bonus against Germany and the French. So we probably want to go down this tree like soon. But first, you know what? Let's protect inequality. Protective inequality. Pardon me. For the Lord knows that those are his own. In a trial of the century, every day the odds are broadcast on the radio for the entire nation to listen to. While many in Algiers assemble outside the courthouse to get a close look as possible to the action, however, since the names of the accused was published and placarded everywhere, a new wave of violence has swept through the nation. Overzealous Camelots have been targeting the family and friends of those on trial, as well as the more generally all and open Republicans, with harassment and rapid escalating violence. Yesterday it was jeers and insults, today's beatings and property damage, with the police rarely intervening. Who knows where it will stop? The population, taken in a frenzy and wanting to make those responsible for France's suffering pay, has started joining in as well, often collectively proving more violent against the perceived enemies of the party than most committed to the Camelots. Some are fleeing, others hope that the collective wrath will simply pass, that it will quickly become uncontrollable. The political disagreements of yesterday had turned into blind rage, and some are even taking advantage of the general frenzy to settle personal feuds, either joining the mob and influencing into going after personal enemies, or denouncing as liberals, as Mardik sympathizers, as Republicans, whoever slighted them. However, this orgy of violence could prove cathartic for our people, as they can finally rest easy knowing that the enemy within it will no longer hinder. Finally, the party can move forward, first by reforming herself, following our king's guidance, and then by settling her sights on the metropole, still reeling under the communard oppression. Finally, with this Republican nightmare is over. So we're at 42% party popularity, which is going to give us more political power gain, I believe. And you two guys will deploy somewhat soon. So if you last until October 1st, we're kind of hoping that Kingdom of Spain doesn't have a civil war. As our service was prepared to take down Grissard under Damocles' supervision, Grissard decided to strike first. We managed to locate his hideout and had it surrounded by competent officers. Before the order to launch assault was given, our agents were attacked by a stolen armored car and were forced to retreat. Most of our agents lost their trace, and we found the corpses of those who did not in the middle of the desert. Grissard made sure to leave no evidence in his hideout by setting it on fire before leaving, reducing everything but a single piece of paper to ashes. Now we're left with nothing more than the word Oriflamme. And more questions and answers. We're going to lose 10 political power. Look, I just want to persecute more Republicans, okay? You'll be done in 109 days. The Burgundy Tragedy. Late at night, grave news reaches us from the occupied metropolis, whatever. News that could have been catastrophic consequences for the very stability of our nation should it spread. For a week now, our operatives have lost contact with important assets within the commune, part of a vital network of sympathizers working for our cause tirelessly since the exile. Despite our best efforts, they remain unreachable, as if they had vanished with a trace alongside a particularly important cargo. We immediately suspect this to be the work of communal counterintelligence, which had at its best been sluggish for years, but recently had been hard at work to root out our valiant efforts to resist anarchic tyranny of the Reds. As the fate of our heroes remain unknown, all we can do is rebuild and continue their sacred mission. The high-risk smuggling of French wine from Bourgogne, Belize, and Champagne to Algeria, a task essential to keep up national morale. Though the purchase of any goods from the mainland is officially banned, and likewise the commune has desperately tried to enforce an embargo against us, there exists a thriving black market controlled in large part by our assets, recruited from either ideological sympathizers or organized crime, with wine and cheese being especially sought after, as they are after all essential goods. Despite official praise for Algerian wine, you would be hard-pressed to find a bureaucrat, a businessman, or an officer who had ever tasted it. And even among the lower classes, where to find a good bottle for a special occasion is an open secret. I just want some nice wine, okay? That's it. The Democratic left has won in Brazil. Does that mean you're actually going to go syndicalist? I actually don't know. You might. They're going to get a stability boost here. The Cathedral, the Immaculate Conception of Orgadoy. That's not even how that's not even close how you pronounce that. Dogao has concentrated today in the presence of Jean III, governor of Haute-Volta, Henry Louis Joseph Chess, and Joni Prevenaud, the very influential apostolic vicar of the city of Ouagadougou. Look, I'm just gonna Just click the button. Look, sometimes things can be hard to pronounce, okay? And I apologize for sometimes Mustafa Kemal sees power in the Ottomans. Okay, let's see, what's that mean for you? I don't actually know, because this is definitely different than what we did when we played the Ottomans. Why don't you guys actually deploy? You'll deploy soon, I believe. Okay, so we got protective inequality. We just need to get down here before 1939. So we got about 3 years to finish this tree. You guys have more stability and war support. You also get us more stability. Yeah. Let's get more stability. French attack Ziwa. In a brazen move aimed at stopping sensitive influence among our subjects, we sent a detachment of the French army deep into Sahara to raid their oasis. Supported by modern rifles and air support, their Ilkwan stood no chance of stopping us, but they're able to harass the French columns from retreating back into the deserts. I think we did lose a little bit of equipment there. Guadal's people governments declared war on the Gongxi clique. I mean, wars in China don't really affect us too much. And a collapsed United Baltic Duchy. Okay, interesting. Riga is still part of the Reichspakt, but Estonia and Latvia have declared their independence, which probably means that they're going to be very easy picking for the Russians very soon. And a meeting with His Holiness. With the long struggle against the Republic finally over, the Dauphin Henry d'Orléans has embarked on the Great Diplomatic Voyage to introduce a new regime to our allies and neighbors. However, the first stop on this trip will be to Rome, where the prince has arrived by plane early today. France has long been the eldest daughter of the church, though she certainly had been a rebellious daughter in the last century or so. From one revolution to the next, the church has often been a target of godless revolutionaries and unscrupulous liberals. No official relation between the Holy See and France exists since 1904, and it started the debate over separation of church and state, and the relation between the Republic and the papacy had been warmer during the Great War. The subsequent revolution destroyed hopes of the Detente. The anti-clerical terror that followed, leading many to believe that the eldest daughter was now matricide. But no more. Like a prodigal son, Francis finally returned to her mother than church, and the prince was warmly received by the Romans and His Holiness. A long private meeting was held between the two, where His Holiness shared his joy at the return of France among the nations closest to the church. And it's hoped that the new regime will truly remain true to its holy mission, calling for a peaceful transition towards monarchy. It was rumored that the Pope had concerns regarding the rather ulterior nature of the faith in the eyes of Marat, but these concerns are apparently been soothed, whether by assurance of the Prince of Marat's good faith, or by the promise to control these unsavory elements. We will never know. The meeting concluded. Prince Henry announced that the Concordat would soon be signed between the church and the kingdom, before solemnly swearing that France from now on will always defend the faith. A joyous occasion. So a little bit more stability, a little bit of political power. I will take it. I don't know what's like going on with my mouse still today. Like it's definitely like not working as intended. Like the middle mouse button just like is not working. But I do think that at least for right now, this is going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So thanks everybody for watching. My name is Anthnwam. If you enjoyed, thumbs up. Not enjoying, thumbs down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.